Good morning and welcome to today's Franchise Minute. I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist, and today we have a special guest, Lori Tobia with Gotcha Covered Franchise. And our topic today is validation. So Lori, thank you for joining us and thank you for helping explain validation to our audience.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Anna. It's such an important piece of this process, so I appreciate it.
All right, and before we begin, Lori, tell us a little bit about you and Gotcha Covered.
Yeah, perfect. So my history is kind of interesting. I started with Gotcha Covered 22 years ago, so I'm dating myself here. I started as a franchise owner. So I was a franchise owner from 2001 to 2011. Then I was the vice president of franchise relations. So did all the training, onboarding of all new people. I left for a short time to help a company get started with franchising and then came back in development now. So I really enjoy that. It's nice to be able to help people explore the opportunity with Gotcha Covered. As far as Gotcha Covered, we're a window treatment company. So we specialize in anything that goes for the interior of a window. So hard goods, blind shade shutters, all the pretty things, curtains, draperies, cornices, top treatments. We can do anything that pairs with a smart home. We can do window film. So truly we can cover anything for that interior of a window and then some exterior options too.
Wow, that's pretty impressive. Didn't know that much stuff could be done to a window. So
you don't realize how much is out there.
You could be Windows or us, right?
Exactly.
Okay, well, right now we're going to go ahead and watch a 60-second video on today's topic of validation. And then after that, Lori, I've got some questions about validation. And it's going to be you to come up with the answers and give the explanations. You game?
Perfect. Thank you so much, Anna.
Okay, here we go with the Franchise Minute video. Welcome to the Franchise Minute. I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist, and today's topic is validation. This is part of the franchise discovery process. The purpose of validation is to confirm all that you've learned about the business from the franchisor with its current franchisees. The discovery process begins by having the franchise candidate understand what the business is about and how it works. Once the candidate understands this, then he or she is ready to ask some insightful questions about the business to the franchisees. I recommend you focus on three areas. First, the training and support provided by the franchisor. Secondly, what is the day in the life of a franchisee like? And third, discuss the financial aspects of the business. Thanks for watching and keep watching us. We're here each Wednesday at 11:30 Eastern. Smash the subscribe button to the Be Wildly Wealthy YouTube channel. I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist. See you next week. Lori, so share your thoughts with the audience about how important validation is as a part of the franchise discovery process.
Yeah, to me, this is a really important piece of this. I mean, it's a major life decision. And while it's exciting and exhilarating and all of that, you want to make sure you have as much information as possible so that you're going into it really with eyes wide open and a very educated approach to it. It's super important to get the perspective of current franchise owners. I mean, they're going to be able to give their history, their outlook, and really kind of what it's like for them to be there. So they have that firsthand experience that they will be able to share with you. So very, very important piece of it.
Yesterday, I sent out an e-blast, and the topic in the subject line was get both sides of the franchise coin. And I was referencing validation. So you hear from the franchisor what it's about, and then you have the opportunity to validate or confirm with franchisees what is it about. I mean, it's a great process.
Yeah, and I love the way you approach that with that blast of the two sides of the coin. I mean, that's the perfect analogy. You really want to get both sides of that so that you're like I said, that you're making that very educated decision.
So Lori, help the audience take us from the beginning of the franchise discovery process all the way through up to validation so people understand, you know, what leads up to validation. Okay?
Yeah, perfect. So, like we said, validation is just one piece of that whole process. And everyone you talk to, different franchise systems, they're going to handle it a little bit differently, but there's going to be a lot of similarities there too. So, here at Gotcha Covered, there's two of us that do this. Hannah Erlenbush and I both are franchise developers. And so, one of us will really be that talking point to take someone from the very beginning to the end of that process. We're just there as a resource to help them answer questions and just walk them through that. So, at Gotcha Covered, what we do is we start with just a quick little call with one of us, just to learn more about you and what has you interested in business ownership and Gotcha Covered in particular. Then after that, we do an opportunity overview webinar. So we're actually going to share a PowerPoint with you. It's going to give you that really good overview of what we're about, the systems we have in place, the way we approach the market, all of that. I mean, it's a high level overview, but it's going to give you enough information for you to determine, I'm still interested in this, and that's something I want to continue to look at. After that, in conjunction, we really do the FDD and the validation process. So we want to get that FDD to you. That's a really long legal document, but it's got a ton of great information in it. Mm-hmm. And we do give you an email that outlines what each section's about so that you can look at that and say, okay, that's a section I really want to focus on. Typically, people focus on the financial pieces, the items 6, 7, and 19 are kind of the big ones. Right. And we want to make sure you have all that before you talk to our owners, because there's going to be questions that come from that too. Then we're going to give you a list of our owners. And with that, we also do make recommendations. So we're going to say like, hey, here's some people that maybe have some synergy with you, the same type of market or similar backgrounds, that kind of thing. And then we're going to want you to talk to those owners. After that, we're going to have executive calls for you. So anyone that's going through with us gets a call with the president of our company. And then we're owned by a company, 5-Star Franchising. They're our parent company. They have different multiple franchise systems within them. And so we're going to then set up with the Chief Growth Officer, Andrew Megason. You're going to have a call with him. That's really nice because you get to see the Gotcha Covered and even our parent company, 5-Star. So then after that, if they're still interested, that's when we would go into a meet the team day discovery type of thing.
Okay, fantastic. And that's our topic next week, meet the team day. All right. So I want to dig in a little bit more about how you arrange validation so it's easy for both the franchisees and the franchise candidates. I know some franchise systems will have regularly scheduled, prearranged calls, will record calls. Some don't. They just say, call any franchisee you want. So how does Gotcha Covered handle that?
Yeah, that's a great question. You're right. Everyone does it a little bit differently, but you'll see some similarities there. So the way that we handle it is we do have some recorded calls. So as part of that validation, we're going to send a link to those recorded calls. This is really nice. There's a lot of them on there. So you can go and you can listen to those on your own time. So, if early in the morning is great for you, late at night, you can kind of determine what makes sense for you and your schedule and your lifestyle. Those recorded calls that we have actually are live validation calls. So we do schedule a couple of those a month where an owner will join us, and then people that are looking to potentially own a Gotcha Covered can join, and they can ask that owner questions too. So the validation calls that are recorded are the ones that we've done live in previous months. After that, we're going to, like I said, send you a list of all of our owners and then recommend a few of those. And we're really going to try to pair you with some people that have, like I said, similar backgrounds, similar territories. So you can dig in and really say like, hey, I'm in a more rural area. What does that look like for you? Now, we want you to call whomever you want, though. So that's not going to be limited by any means. So once we give you those, then we do give you some tips on how to schedule those, emailing them ahead of time, setting up a time, that's always going to work a little bit better.
Absolutely. And I can tell you, I think there is a lot of, it helps to connect people, like someone who was a military veteran to talk to another military veteran, or if there's a husband and wife team, to talk to a couple of other husband and wife teams. And I know from my perspective as a franchise advisor, people go, oh, they're only going to point me to the people who are doing really well. And I say, that's really not the case. All franchisees are listed in the FDD, all of them. And like you said, you're welcome to call anybody. You've got tons of recorded calls. You've got live scheduled calls. You're just helping to facilitate the gathering of the information right, that franchise candidates need and want to make a well-informed decision about Gotcha Covered or whatever the brand is.
Right.
Would you
And
agree
really,
with
it
that?
wouldn't service anyone to only guide them to a certain type of person because, we've said, like, we want them to come and be happy here and know what it's about and excel. So we want them to get that wide variety of people at different
Yeah.
stages in the business and have that opportunity. So yeah, you're right. We want to make sure that that's open to them. But like you said too, husband-wife teams, we have a number of those. If you're looking at
Mhm.
running your business that way, of course we're going to give you some of those because now you can talk to them about how does that work. You're married,
Yeah.
you work together. There's a lot of great things about that, but what challenges are there? So we want you to
Right.
dig in with those people in those similar situations.
Absolutely. I agree. So do you have any specific tips, advice, questions that you share with a franchise candidate leading into validation so they get the information they're looking for?
Yeah, and it's funny, Anna, you and I've talked, and this is something I know you recommend too. I think having a list of questions, like we always recommend that before you go in, and keeping those consistent. It just makes a
Yes.
really nice comparison. So I can look at exactly what every single person answered, and how those work together. So I think having that list of questions prepared ahead of time is really, really important. We also will make some suggestions for questions.
Mhm.
So things to
That's
think about. Yeah, which is nice. So we want you to ask the general ones like how long have you been doing this? What did you do before? What attracted you to Gotcha Covered? But we also want you to ask some of those tough questions too, the more in-depth to
huh.
really dig in deep because that's we've said, this is such an important piece to talk to people that are doing this. So what's the relationship like with Gotcha Covered? What's that
Mhm.
training like? Do you feel like it's a good support going ongoing, throughout your tenure with
Mhm.
that? Even things like at what point did you break even? I mean, those financial
Yeah,
questions are also great ones. That's because everyone's going to have a little bit different answer.
they are.
Yeah, not everybody has that same approach and same needs, and so it's good to ask that because it's going to give you that varied perspective of what really you can look at realistically.
Just to piggyback on what you've said, Lori,
Yeah.
is when I set up a candidate to go through validation, this is what I'm very clear about. What you're looking for is to validate or confirm everything you've learned about the franchise with franchisees. So where there should not be variation is on the side of the franchisor, the
Right,
business model, the marketing strategy, the systems, the training, the support, all that
right,
sort of stuff. No matter who you talk to, no matter where in the country, military, husband, wife team,
right.
Iowa, Florida, Nebraska, it doesn't matter. That should be consistent no matter who you talk to.
Yeah,
Where there is variation and where candidates need to expect variation is in the financial performance of
absolutely.
everybody's individual business. Now,
Mhm.
let's talk a little bit about why there would be variation because so many people will get the FDD, read the item 19, go, aha, that's what, you know, this is with the financial information the franchise is providing in their item 19. But
Mhm.
let's talk about the huge importance of talking to franchisees and expecting the variation from what may be recorded in the FDD. Okay, I think that's kind of important, don't you?
Yes. And I like what you said is where there should be consistency is what are the systems like? What is the training like? What is the support like? Where you're going to get that wide variation is when you're asking people specifically about their business. And some of this comes down to what are their needs? We look at it as, hey, what do you want out of this? We have some that are home-based, single owner operator. We have some with storefronts
Mhm.
and staff. We have everything in
Yeah.
between. So really, what are you wanting out of this? And then what do we need to do to help you to get there? So that's where that variation is going to come. We liken it to, we're going to build a bike for you and it's going to be the best bike we can build. And then how fast you pedal it and how hard you pedal it. And if you veer off the road a little and come back and we help you with that, that's going to be how fast you get from point A to point B. So I think
Right.
that's the key is asking that of people of like, what was your journey that way?
Hmm. Hmm. And I also I totally agree. And I also point out that just like every business, every school system, every sports team, and every franchise, not everybody's going to perform the same, right?
No,
And
no,
so expect that variation. And why do people perform differently at school systems and on sports? Well, they have different abilities, they have different goals, they have different
right.
talents, they have different motivations for what they're doing. So all that plays into it. So,
Yeah, that's a great comparison. It really is.
all right. Well, thank you. I've done this once or twice.
I know. I'm gonna use that one, and I'm gonna take that from you.
Okay, great. All right, Lori, we have run out of time. Time has just flown. So last question, if anyone's interested in learning more about Gotcha Covered, what do you recommend they do?
Yeah, well, I think it should be pretty obvious what you should do. Anna is wonderful. She understands us, our brand. So she's going to be that first point of contact of, hey, I may have an interest in this, or really any franchise system. She and I have both done this for similar timing. And so she knows all those different systems. And one of her things is matching you up to the right places. We, of course, would love if that's Gotcha Covered, but we know Anna's going to do a great job of digging in with you and saying, hey, what's going to be a good fit for what you're wanting out of a business and that life choice that you're making. So Anna's a great resource for this, and then hopefully we'll get that chance to work with people too.
Well, thank you, Lori. And this is Lori Tobia with Gotcha Covered. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for helping explain validation as part of the franchise discovery process. I'm Anna Wilds, the franchise economist. Thank you for joining us, audience. Come back next week where the topic will be the last step of the franchise discovery process, which is Meet the Team Day, or sometimes called Discovery Day. See you next week.
Thank you, Anna.